Take a look at your most recent shopping bill. A bag of groceries that should have been $45 is now $62. A bottle of milk costs an extra $1.50. Egg cartons are almost double the size compared to 2019. But what's more concerning is that even with price increases, Walmart is still reporting slowing revenue. Target continues to lose customers. Home Depot warns that fiscal year 2025 will be risky. Starbucks loses millions of visits each month. If Americans are paying more and buying less, what's happening? That's no longer a small fluctuation. It's a change in mindset, a change in beliefs, and a change in how Americans face the future. So, if one day you walk into Target and feel like something's off, it might not be the lighting, but because the entire economy is struggling. Today, we'll delve into 5 layers of causes, from habits and psychology to policy shocks behind warehouse doors, to understand why people say America is sliding into a crisis that starts right in each family's shopping cart. Let's get started. You know, sometimes the biggest changes in a country don't happen in Parliament. They don't happen on TV, but right in your shopping cart. A recent report shows that 60% of Americans say they only buy what is absolutely necessary. What year does that sound like? 2008. But this time, the feeling was different, colder, deeper. Walmart warns that fiscal year 2025 will be one of the most difficult years. Target quietly cut back on merchandise. Home Depot is reducing its operating hours in some states. Starbucks sees millions fewer visits. These aren't just numbers sitting still on a report. This is the heartbeat of the American wallet, and it's slowing down like a tired heart after a long run. But the problem isn't just running out of money. Prices are rising, that's true. But what's getting more expensive is faith in the future. Americans are entering a state I call soft defense, not buying in advance. Don't spend on things that make you happy. Don't renovate unless absolutely necessary. Don't stop at Starbucks because $5 is now $8. It's like when a thunderstorm hits, everyone automatically closes their doors, locks their porches, and puts things away in the garage. No one knows how strong the storm will be, but everyone can see the wind changing direction. And this is the part that few people talk about. Walmart and Target are not just places to buy things. They are a measure of whether life is still normal. Home Depot doesn't just sell wood and nails. It reflects whether people still feel confident investing in their homes. Starbucks is more than just coffee. It's a moment of respite for the entire busy society. When these places weaken, what truly disappears isn't just discounts, but it's a feeling of stability. A 55-year-old man in Ohio said this: "I'm not afraid of expensive coffee. I'm afraid the future is expensive." That sentence sounds simple, but it perfectly captures the mood of the entire American middle class right now. They didn't spend less because they immediately became poorer. They spend less because they are not sure tomorrow will be easier than today. In a small town in Maine, Target cut staff and Home Depot closed earlier. People are saying, if the shops are shrinking, the economy will shrink even more. Is that a bit of an exaggeration? Maybe. But sometimes, the anxiety of the people is the quickest indicator of an economy. And you know what's interesting? A strong nation won't tremble over the price of a latte. But if even a latte makes you hesitate, then perhaps the problem isn't with the latte. It lies in what's behind that bill. So, what do you think? Are Americans really running out of money? Or are they running out of confidence? And if millions of people stop spending due to a sense of uncertainty, what happens next? We'll reach the next floor right after this. Another level is even deeper and more concerning. If the price of beef or a latte bothers you, then imagine how Walmart feels when their import bill increases by billions of dollars in just 1 year. People only see the bill at the checkout counter, and behind the curtain, where hundreds of thousands of packages are unloaded every day, is a headache that few people talk about. The United States is imposing many new tariff packages on imported goods. It sounds far-fetched, as if only CEOs need to worry about it. But actually, it's like changing the pressure of the whole house. You don't see the wind, but you hear the creaking of the door frame. Large chains like Walmart, Target and Home Depot, which operate on razor-thin margins of only 2–3%, immediately felt the shock. Some items are marked up by 15–25% simply because import costs have increased. It's not because they're overcharging, and because the costs are inflated from the root, just like a tree that doesn't get enough water is forced to wither from the roots. And as costs rise, they have only three options, none of them pleasant: raise prices, reduce the quantity of goods, or cut staff and services. All three lead to one consequence: a worsening consumer experience, further decline in revenue, and then the cycle returns to where it began. This is the biggest paradox of this moment. A macro decision can create a micro earthquake right in your garage. Think about it. Why is a 2x4 piece of wood at Home Depot 20% more expensive? Why did even a small box of screws increase in price? Why is the floor cleaner bottle out of stock? It's not due to any conspiracy. Simply because everything that enters the United States, from wood, steel, coffee beans, latte machine components to building materials, must pass through customs. Just like every item has to pay extra fees to cross the bridge, and ultimately the consumer is the one who sees the final bill. For American men who enjoy home improvement, DIY projects, or freelance work, a nail price increase won't bother them. But 50 small items increasing at the same time is a different matter. You don't feel it right away, but your garage will feel it. Your wallet will feel it. In Texas, a small home repair shop shared. Customers said they would wait for lumber prices to drop and then come back. But the price didn't go down, it went up even more. It sounds like a joke, but it's a reality. A loop where no one knows where the end is. And here's the most ironic part. A wealthy nation is having to pay extra to buy the very things they've been using for decades. If the economic machine were a V8 engine, right now it would be grinding its gears. The rhythm is no longer round. The question for you is, if platform costs keep increasing but income doesn't keep pace, will people still maintain their previous consumption habits? And if the retail giants are struggling, what will happen to the smaller players? But the tariff issue is not the deepest layer yet, because what's changing isn't just prices, but the psychology and emotions of the entire society. We will touch on that layer in the next section. There's an interesting thing about America in recent years. Sometimes people don't stop buying because they run out of money, but because they run out of patience. And if you want to see that clearly, you don't need to read economic reports. Just stand in front of a Starbucks store during rush hour. Sometimes you might find the line shorter or the shop closing earlier. It's not because there's a lack of coffee, but because of a lack of customers, a lack of staff, and sometimes a lack of trust from consumers themselves. From 2023 to 2025, American social media saw waves of calls to boycott major corporations. Starbucks, Target, Home Depot, Walgreens, almost every brand has its own bad day. And the remarkable thing is, this is not just a fleeting movement. It reflects a deeper sentiment: fatigue, skepticism, and a sense of distance between the people and the giant corporations that were once their daily companions. The truth is, consumers don't just buy things with money. They buy with emotion, with respect, with a sense of being served, not lectured. For older Americans, this is even clearer. They don't like it when brands become moral lecture halls. They're not interested in flashy media campaigns. They just want a good cup of coffee, a quality surfboard, a store that sells what they need. That's all. When brands stray too far from that fundamental connection, they lose the bond with their long-standing loyal customers. A 60-year-old man in Arizona said something that sounded simple but was profound. I don't hate Starbucks. I just hate the feeling that they're not serving me anymore. And when millions of people feel the same way, all business indicators fluctuate like a boat encountering an undertow. Because unlike inflation or tariffs, this hidden anger isn't recorded in financial statements, but it can wipe out a brand if it lasts long enough. The irony is, Americans boycotted tea in 1773. In 2025, they boycotted lattes. History doesn't seem to repeat itself, but certainly, it knows how to add extra milk, ice, and even social significance. In supermarkets, you'll see full shelves but few shoppers. At Home Depot, you'll see many employees standing around waiting, but no customers asking for help. At Target, you'll see discount signs hanging densely, like a polite plea for help. All those signals don't just say the business is in trouble. They say the people are sending a message. Serve us properly. Don't forget us. And here's the question for you. Is this change in consumer behavior just temporary? Or is it ushering in a new era, where Americans want to distance themselves from the brands they once considered family? But whatever the reason, this underlying anger is only the third layer. The second layer is even more bitter because it directly concerns the middle class, which is the backbone of America and is thinning out every year. There's an old saying, when the rich sneeze, the poor catch a cold. But when the middle class coughs, the entire economy trembles. And now it seems America is hearing that cough, more clearly than ever. A recent survey shows that nearly half of Americans no longer feel they belong to the middle class. That number isn't just a dry statistic. It's like looking in the mirror and not recognizing yourself anymore. Real income is not keeping pace with prices. Americans are paying over 20% more for food compared to 2019, over 30% more for home repairs, and over 40% more for outdoor services. You can feel it right in your kitchen. The shopping basket is lighter, but the bill is heavier. Or in the garage, fixing the old door also becomes a negotiation with your own wallet. This is the group that kept Target healthy, helped Home Depot grow, and made Starbucks crowded every morning. But now they're shifting into survival mode, only buying what they need, only repairing when it's severely broken, and only treating themselves when they're truly flush. And that feeling of being flush is now as rare as 99-cent eggs. But this is what most people overlook. As the middle class shrinks, the American retail system loses its backbone. Starbucks lost the customers who used to visit every morning. Target lost baskets full of unnecessary but desirable items. Home Depot is losing weekend DIY projects, which used to sustain thousands of stores. It wasn't a dramatic collapse. It's a wearing down, little by little. It's like a skyscraper with some of its steel reinforcement removed. It still stands on the outside, but it's weaker on the inside. A family of 4 in Michigan says they used to go to Target 3 times a week, but now they only go once a month. Target didn't just lose revenue. Target lost a habit. And once a habit is lost, it's very difficult to regain. That's what worries major retail chains the most. Not complaining customers, but silent customers disappearing. Perhaps the most ironic thing here is, a wealthy nation with the world's leading economy allows the middle class, a symbol of stability, to shrink like a cotton shirt washed in hot water. So the question is, where is the money going? Does it go into living expenses, on tariffs, or into some economic black hole that the people will never see? And more importantly, if the middle class, which has been the driving force of the American market for decades, is weakening, what will happen to Walmart, Target, Home Depot, and Starbucks in the next 5 years? Because all the classes we just analysed, decreased spending, increased tariffs, shifting social sentiment, and a shrinking middle class, all point to a common denominator. One point will be the climax of the video. American trust is wavering. And when trust falters, everything else does too. Trust is a strange thing. You don't see it, can't touch. But when it breaks, you hear it very clearly. That sound didn't come from stock exchanges, not from Washington, but from very ordinary places. A deserted Target, a Starbucks with reduced hours, a Walmart constantly adjusting prices, a Home Depot cutting staff. Just think about it. Those four names used to be symbols of stability. When everything else out there is chaotic, people still believe one thing for sure. At least Walmart is still open. At least Starbucks is still the same. But now, even those pillars are shaking. The US Consumer Confidence Index has fallen to its lowest level since 2011. That is, it's been over a decade since people have been this pessimistic. And what's more concerning, spending patterns are becoming erratic, like the irregular heartbeat of a body under stress. A society can withstand high prices, can withstand tariffs, can tolerate conflicting viewpoints. But that society cannot function stably unless people believe that tomorrow will be easier than today. Their salaries will be enough to live on, the shops they rely on will not disappear, and the money they spend has real value. Walmart, Target, Home Depot, and Starbucks are weakening, not because the coffee is getting worse or the wood is getting more expensive. That's just the surface. The deeper nature is the eroding belief in the consumer system. Just like the foundation of a house starts to shake slightly, no one sees cracks, but everyone feels the stability decrease. A 62-year-old former worker in Pennsylvania said something very down to earth. I look at the bills every week and understand. This country is changing in a way that no one is explaining to us. That's what someone said who had been through enough ups and downs to distinguish between normal change and change that makes you feel worried to the bone. When people no longer trust the consumer system, they will no longer trust the economy. The reason is very simple. The economy starts with the shopping cart. If that basket becomes lighter because people fear the future, then GDP, profits, and jobs will all change accordingly. A strong nation can build spacecraft, lead in technology, and spend billions on infrastructure. But sometimes, the future is decided by whether people still want to buy a latte in the morning. Sounds insignificant, but it's those small things that speak to the spirit of the entire country. The question is, are we witnessing a temporary phase or a long-term shift in American trust? And if trust has cracked, will large systems, retail, financial, labor, be strong enough to mend? The answer doesn't lie in the economic report. It lies in how people continue to consume, continue to live, and continue to believe. And to understand that, we need to look at the final image of the video, the scenario of America without big retail. Try closing your eyes and imagining a slightly crazy, but not entirely far-fetched scenario. An America without Walmart, without Target, without Home Depot, without Starbucks. It sounds like a fantasy movie. But if you look at what's happening, it's no longer a question of whether it's possible, but rather, if it does happen, what will become of us? Start with the simplest thing, buying essentials. There's no Walmart or Target where they'll sell milk at a reasonable price. A gallon of milk at a small store can increase by 30–40% because they don't have the buying power of larger stores. Instead of buying cheap toilet paper at a large supermarket, you'll have to choose between a few small brands, high prices, inconsistent quality. Imagine, the already heavy shopping cart is now even heavier because there's nowhere cheaper. What about Home Depot? No one paid attention to it until they needed to replace the hinge, the wooden panel, or the leaky faucet. If Home Depot weakens, millions of builders, handymen, and small business owners will lose a stable supply source. The price of materials didn't increase by a few percent. It could fluctuate depending on the mood of each local store. A simple screwdriver turn can turn into a bill that makes you sigh before paying. And Starbucks, once the unofficial living room of modern America. Without it, many neighborhoods would lack a gathering place. People don't just lose their morning latte. They lost a place to discuss work, meet friends, or simply sit quietly and watch life go by. It sounds small, but sometimes small things keep the whole community connected. So, if these four brands withdraw simultaneously, what happens? Prices are becoming unpredictable. People's bargaining power has decreased significantly. Supply is unstable. The local unemployment rate is increasing. And the American economy, which relies on consumption, was put in a difficult position. Many people say, if not Starbucks, I'll make coffee at home. That sounds reasonable. But the real question is, when there's no more Walmart, where do you buy your ingredients? You see, this isn't just the story of four brands. It's a story about the consumer system, about small habits that maintain great stability, about the invisible pillars that keep this society functioning. And if those pillars shake, are we facing a new version of the consumer crisis? A version that doesn't start with banks collapsing, but with the shopping carts of individual families. So, what do you think? If big retail weakens, what will America become? Finally, the story of no Walmart, no Target, no Home Depot, no Starbucks is not just about four big names. It is a mirror reflecting the emotions, beliefs, and rhythm of life of Americans today. A gentle but far-reaching warning that the most familiar things are sometimes the most easily changed. Now I want to hear from you. What are you feeling in your daily life? Prices, habits, consumer psychology. What has changed? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Each story, each experience helps this picture become clearer. If you find this video helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future analyses. It not only supports the channel, but also helps us build a community that sees the world with more discerning eyes. And finally, a small note. This video is only intended to analyze socio-economic phenomena based on public data and real-world observations. This is not financial advice, not policy guidance, and is not aimed at any individual or organization whatsoever. Thank you for staying until the end. See you in the next video, where we continue to peel back the layers of a rapidly changing America.